Star Wars boss Kathleen Kennedy planning to exit Lucasfilm at the end of 2025.
Yes.
What is up, YouTube? My name is Mario, aka the real Super Mario. Check out the main channel because the main channel is popping, aka the Loot Box Hero, aka YouTube's greatest fat man here, bringing you another video. All right, back-to-back videos on the second channel. What? Yeah, I got y'all. I had to do a video on this. All right, so I've kind of been doing, covering Star Wars a little bit on the channel. I was gonna do the DC stuff, but I was like, no. When this dropped this morning, I was like, oh, I gotta talk about this. I gotta talk about this one. So here's that positive video y'all was looking for. Yeah. So apparently, the head of Star Wars has been the head of Star Wars since Disney purchased Star Wars X number of years ago. Kathleen Kennedy is retiring. So, now, of course, it is time to celebrate. Now, personally, I don't hate Kathleen Kennedy. I understand why Disney, elevated her to president, because she was working with, George Lucas at the time anyway. She worked with Steven Spielberg. She's been in the industry forever. She has experience. She has knowledge. So, I can see why they will put her in that position. But she kind of let, her personal, goals or political aspirations or what have you kind of get her lost in the sauce. And it kind of ruined her work. So now her legacy is essentially driving Star Wars off of a cliff. So and of course, letting your personal feelings interfere with your work, not unlike Kendrick Lamar in his halftime show. Yeah, I'm still gonna talk about it, okay? But yes, she kind of did, and of course there's room to put your personal feelings into your work. Because it is art. But if you do it so much that it ruins the art, then what's the point? And that's basically what's going on with Star Wars, all right? Of course, people will say that the sequel trilogy that, made $1 billion each, made $4 billion. It paid for the whole franchise. And it kind of did, but it started off making $2 billion a movie. And by the time it was over, it was making barely $1 billion a movie. That is a 50% drop in box office. That is a bad thing, okay? Even though it's $1 billion, that means that if they were to do another movie, like the next movie in the sequel trilogy, if they did, sequel quadrilogy, we'll probably see even more diminishing returns. And the last thing you want is a Star Wars movie to get less than $1 billion. More than likely, Mando and Grogu is probably going to get less than $1 billion. More than likely. So, yeah, it's been damaged. Not to mention all the Disney Plus shows, all of the other stuff has done considerable damage to Star Wars. So, let's check out the article, though. So, from Variety, it says, Kathleen Kennedy, the longtime president of Lucasfilm, is expected to step down at the end of 2025. She intends to retire after her current contract ends, according to a source with knowledge of her plans. A separate source close to Kennedy, however, dismissed the initial report by Puck as pure speculation and said nothing has been decided. Kennedy had joined Lucasfilm in 2012 as the co-chair alongside Star Wars creator George Lucas. Shortly after Lucas exited his post as Disney acquired the company for $4 billion, Kennedy was elevated to president. Her future at the company behind Star Wars has been a source of speculation for years. The Force Awakens remains the highest grossing Star Wars film in the box office history, with $936 million and $2 billion globally, But the triad of Star Wars, of Skywalker-centric films experienced diminished returns. Rise of Skywalker capped off the trilogy in 2019 with a still impressive $1 billion, all bet half as much as The Force Awakens earned a few years back. So we know the diminishing returns of Star Wars. So they said this is kind of speculation, but I mean, the insider is kind of, the particular insider at Puck News is pretty trusted. So, so it looks like Kathleen is leaving. All right, more than likely they'll probably announce it at Star Wars Celebration. You know what I'm saying? Or they might announce it at what May the 4th. May the 4th be with you on Star Wars Day. Maybe they'll do that. I think Star Wars Celebrations in April this year. It's going to be in April in Japan. So maybe they'll announce it there. Honestly, it would be kind of a big thing to announce because, I mean, that's a huge deal. So what happens next? Well, here's the thing. I'll give you my roadmap to save Star Wars. All right, this is what you do. First thing, all right, now that Kathleen is leaving, you need to kind of have a red wedding, a professional red wedding, not an actual one, professional red wedding of the Star Wars writing room. Okay, all right, you need to clean slate, with the exception of like maybe Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and a couple people that were involved in some of the stuff that they was doing. Other than that, clean slate of the writers room. All right, bring in some older experienced writers, bring in some young newbies, and they can kind of work together to hammer out some new stuff. All right, so after y'all have resolved all that stuff, all right, you need to move on to your new projects. Okay. Now, the first new project I would announce would also come with the announcement of the new temporary head of Lucasfilms. And here's the thing, okay? This is going to sound crazy, but you need to make a big move. You need to make a big old move, okay? Disney needs to, they need to big dick energy move here, okay? Y'all need to announce Peter Jackson as the temporary head of Lucasfilm. All right, temporarily. All right, because I think more than likely you probably should give this to Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni, but I think temporarily give it to Peter Jackson. Will he want to do it? Probably not, but still give it to him and announce a Peter Jackson Star Wars movie. This would be one of the biggest announcements they've ever done. Can you imagine the conversation, the buzz that a Peter Jackson Star Wars movie would do? All right, bruh, people will be. The conversation alone is probably worth it. All right, just how much people are going to talk about that. Okay, all right, and now you don't have to get him to do a trilogy. You know what I'm saying? You could get him to do like one movie. All right, get him to do one movie that might set up a trilogy, and then have the rest of those movies that come after that correspond to what happened in the original. Because the biggest problem with the sequel trilogy is that like they don't really correspond with each other. Like J.J. Abrams started something in The Force Awakens, and then Rian Johnson dumped everything he started in The Last Jedi, and then JJ had to come in and fix everything that Ryan screwed up and try to connect everything back to The Force Awakens, and then run it through the Last Jedi without it seeming stupid, and it all came out to be trash. It all came out in the Rise of Skywalker, and it was terrible. So basically, you have Peter Jackson come in, you have him start off, with his movie. If he wants to do a trilogy, let him do a trilogy. It's Peter Jackson. Are you going to tell him no? You know what I'm saying? But if he doesn't want to do a trilogy, have him do one movie and then make sure that the creatives that come after him follow that movie. Okay? That is the plan. If you don't follow the plan, you will be airlocked. Goodbye. You know what I'm saying? And after that, I will go over to the James Mangold movie. And I will have that movie be kind of like a setup, right, to the Rey movie. All right, you know what I'm saying? Cause I mean, I think there's still some value there in doing a Rey's Jedi Academy type of thing. You know what I'm saying? So have James Mangold's movie set up a villain kind of like Exar Kun. Okay. Now, if you don't know who Exar Kun is a Sith Lord that was back during the Old Republic days, and he died back in the Old Republic days, or died, and his Sith, you know, ghost basically existed. His Sith spirit existed all the way until the Luke Jedi Academy, way in the future, you know, after Sidious, after the war, after all of that. And so then, you know, you have Rey's Jedi Academy deal with this Exar Kun threat that was set up in the James Mangold movie. You know, now I don't know how long all that is going to take. That's up to y'all, but I think that will work. All right, I think having the James Mangold movie set up a Rey movie, and then if it does good, you can see where you go from there. And then you have Peter Jackson set up his thing, and if that does really well, you go from there, and there you go. You know what I'm saying? You have that, and then you move on to your TV shows. There should be an animated TV show that will be like the adventures of Luke, Han, and Leia. You know what I'm saying? And you can have, you know, try to, you know, get some voice actors in to do some work. But do something like that for like the OG stuff. But for the most part, don't do any more OG stuff. All right, because there's the more you do with like the prequel OG trilogy stuff, the more complicated it becomes. Because right now, how many Jedi are running around active between between Order 66 and the beginning of the OG trilogy? All right, there's a ton of active Jedi. Okay, so the more Jedi you put into that space, the more you kind of ruin the how special Luke is. So just other than the Luke, Leia, Han animated show, nothing else in the OG trilogy. Let it rest. It's all good. So I think they should do some High Republic stuff. You know what I'm saying? The High Republic is an interesting time period, but the stuff that's come out of it has just been lame, like the Acolyte. But there's some time periods in there. There's some meat on that bone, so to speak. If they play the cards right. All right. Now the big thing that they should be doing is they should do another animated series, kind of like the Clone Wars, but to fill in the gaps of the sequel trilogy. All right, because we all know that the prequels was kind of lame when they first came out. All right, the prequels were bad, okay? But what Dave Filoni did with the Clone Wars and Rebels and all the stuff he did, he filled in and added context and filled in the gaps and added like connective tissue to the prequel trilogy, so much so that it's actually kind of good now, okay? And I think they need to do something like that with the sequel trilogy. So do an animated series. You know what I'm saying? If you have to do, I don't know, maybe do a Luke's Jedi Academy animated series. You know, tell the story of Luke's Jedi Academy and what happened to it. And then maybe you can retcon some stuff with that, you know, to try to make it seem a little bit better. The other thing they need to do is they need to do video games. They need to do video games. Okay, Star Wars, start off by having some cameos. They need to put Star Wars in the next Kingdom Hearts. Okay, call Square Enix. Be like, bro, look, you know what I'm saying? You want to sell some, you want to make some money? You want Kingdom Hearts to reach those unreasonable numbers y'all keep putting for all your games? Because I don't know why every Square Enix game doesn't hit their numbers. What astronomical numbers are they trying to hit with these games? But if you want that, if Square Enix wants that game to hit those numbers, put Star Wars in it. All right, you know, because you want to get Star Wars out there in a positive light. So put Star Wars and Kingdom Hearts. Um, try to get some Star Wars characters in like Fortnite or something. Disney has a deal with Epic Games, so try to get some Star Wars characters over there. You know, do a Star Wars Marvel Rivals event. You know what I'm saying? Do a Star Wars Marvel Rivals collaboration. Because y'all already stole everything else from Overwatch. You might as well steal the collabs too. You know, and so that way, you get some more Star Wars stuff out there. You have to make a Star Wars video game. There needs to be a Mando game. I know this is like 3 or 4 years too late, but there needs to be a Mando game. Okay, no more of this like Star Wars outlaw. None of that. Mando. Okay, all right. Mando, the character, needs to be in a video game. Okay, all right. That game would sell. It's a little late now, but it can still work. All right, they need to do a Mando game. They need to get that Old Republic game up and running. I don't know what's happened with it. I don't know what's going on with the project. If y'all gotta fire some people, find a different studio. Shoot, Disney at this point, y'all could just buy a studio. Y'all got enough money. You'll have enough money. Buy a game studio instead of licensing this. Buy a committed game studio to make your game. But it is what it is. But yeah, I think this is the roadmap, the beginning of fixing Star Wars. So get James Mangold to do an Exar Kun story that sets up your Rey Academy story. Do the Luke, Leia, Han animated series, Adventures of Luke and Friends or whatever. Do your sequel series, animated series that'll help fix that, and get the video games going. This is right here. I think this will work. Look, hire me, man. You know what I'm saying? So that's about it for this. Of course, tell me what you think in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, and as always, people, have yourself a good one.